much. I'm so thrilled to be in India. It's my first visit here, somewhere I've always dreamed of visiting, and it's just overwhelming to be in this amazing school. I'm just completely dumbstruck by this amazing environment that you work in here. But this is where I live. This is where I come from. It's Cornwall in the UK, the extreme southwest, and it's a mining region, and these are the ruins of the tin mines. I live right by the sea, and as I'm sure you know, I often think what conditions were like for the miners underground. There are the Cornish miners who travelled all over the world, and when they were underground, of course, they brought up gemstones, and that's been referred to many times. It's a common theme, isn't it? The gems. But of course, when the gems, that's what they look like when they're raw, when the miner finds them, probably covered in dirt. It takes a skilled eye, doesn't it, to look at a gem and see its quality, and that's where I feel our connection with mining as teachers is, because we can see that that gem, once it's faceted and polished, everybody then can see its value. But when it's in that state, others can't. But I know that we as educators, we see those gems of character within the child. Now, that's what we're good at as human beings, isn't it? Or humanity's been good at, is releasing potential from the natural world, like the gems. We're just not so good at doing it with human beings yet. But in the continent that we're on now, many of the first species of plants were domesticated, cultivated. Many of the first animal domestications occurred. And Secretary Tiwari mentioned that even animals have characters and have to behave responsibly. So here's my first citizen. Okay. Now, the wolf. That was our mortal enemy, wasn't it? In times long ago, well, still, if you keep sheep or cattle in the high areas, this is your enemy. Now, when we talk about character transformation, I often think, who was the genius that transformed this character? Because his character qualities are aggression, cunning, and his pack mentality. Those are the qualities that made him our enemy. A problem for many thousands of years, I guess, maybe longer than that. So who was it that took that and transformed it into that? Because that's where the modern dog comes from, isn't it? From the wolf. Those qualities, that cunning, the aggression's been transformed into courage. Cunning into intelligence, thank you. I could do the support, yeah. And pack mentality into loyalty. And my guess is it was probably a woman that did that, I think. I imagine that a little cub was brought into the village by the fire, and a woman treated it with kindness, and something clicked, something developed, and we've had this long relationship ever since with many domestic animals, but particularly with our dogs and of course, our cats. Now, where have I got to? Yes, okay. So, I've seen how well behaved the children of CMS are. So I asked Roshan, these children are just too well behaved. Can you find me 4 children that have badly behaved so that we can bring them into the conference and we can transform their characters? Are we all okay with that, folks? So here they are. There they are, sorry. There are our 4 characters. We've got the wolf, we've got the dog, we've got the sheep or the lamb, and I don't know, it's a hedgehog in Britain. Hedgehog, you have them in India, yeah? You touch him, he curls up. You say the slightest thing, he's very prickly, very sensitive. So, imagine, folks, that this is your first class and you want to transform them into responsible citizens. Can you see the gems? Can you see the qualities that are there? Because they're there all right, and boy, they're going to challenge you. This is my favorite. I call him Ruffkin Gruffkin. He's a big part of my school. I often tell him off in front of all the other children. If he's vandalized the toilets or spread water everywhere, I blame him. I ask the children to come up and tell him what virtues he needs to practice to be a better citizen. Anyway, you know, the first mention we have of citizenship and virtues is Aristotle, and I think Aristotle probably got it from Socrates. And Aristotle said that virtue is on a continuum. So with this particular character, he's on this continuum. He's on one extreme, he's incredibly reckless. You know, do you know what reckless means? It's that sort of too courageous, too brave, stupidly brave. And on the other extreme, cowardly. But our job as educators is to take that strength that he has and moderate it and train it and develop it. And for me, that's using the strategies of virtue so that he develops the golden mean that Aristotle refers to, courageousness. There he is. Because, you know, when you're on the ship and the ship goes down, he's the one that's going to save you. He's got the courage to do that. And, you know, I don't like spiders. I'm afraid of spiders. But I've noticed that it's always the naughty boy in the class. He's brave enough to take the spider out for me. You know, he's got that courage. So that's a chance for me to say, thank you for your courage. I see the courage that you're practicing there. And that's the thing that opens the heart. So my next character. How many of you recognize this kind of personality in children? You say to them, why did you do that? And they say, because they were doing it. I'm just doing what they were doing. This is the herd, the sheep mentality, right? You must all know this as educators. So, yes, on the one hand, this virtue continuum, uniformity at one extreme, we don't like that. And on the other end, isolation, extreme individualism, isolation. But this character's got a virtue. The virtue that Lammy the lamb is good at is unity. Wants everybody to be part of the flock. Wants everybody to be part of the same. That's not a bad thing, folks, is it? That's what we want to honor. So even this character that's seen as weak and uniform has that virtue, that gem, that unpolished gem that we need to bring and polish. And my hedgehog. Now, hedgehog he's had a lot of trauma in his family. He's lost a lot of family members on the roads. On the one extreme, he's very prickly if you talk to him, very sensitive. On the other extreme can be uncaring, shut off, cold. But in there is this wonderful, if you work with it, there's that sensitivity and empathy. Now, aren't these wonderful qualities to develop in our young citizens? They're already there. I'm going to tell you a little story going back to our wolf character about this virtue and potential, how our qualities are often challenging. The virtues in potential often challenge us. And on a Friday, I run football. Do you have football here? Soccer? Football, soccer. Okay, I'm going to need to go up there too. On Fridays, I run the football team for the younger children, and I've gone up onto our school field, and I've got the football pitch marked out. I put a goal behind me with a yellow cone there. I got a yellow cone there. And all the children came up and put their little jerseys on, their red bibs and their yellow bibs to make the football team. And a little boy, he's called Keelan, he came up to me. He said, Mr. Smith, can I be the goalie in goal? Now, why anybody ever wants to go into goal, I have no idea. Because if you save a goal, everybody loves you. If you let the goal in, everybody hates you. So he goes in goal between these two yellow cones, and I blow the whistle, and the game starts. And there's one little boy on the other team. He's called Aiden. He's like a football genius. He dribbles around everybody. Nobody can stop him. And he gets to where the camera is there. And he kicks the ball with such force. It's like a laser beam. It shoots right past me. And I think, there's no way that Keelan, behind me, can have saved the goal. But all the children are looking very cross on the other team, waving their fists and jumping up and down. And I turn round, and Keelan has moved the goals through 90 degrees. Thus, applying his mathematical knowledge to make it technically impossible to score the goal. Now, he's using the international language of children next to deflect my criticism. He's going like this, which is international for, what have I done wrong? Now, at that moment, am I going to criticize him? Am I going to tell him off for not being obedient to the rules? Am I going to march him in to stand outside my office? No, this is the moment for virtue's acknowledgement, for seeing the virtues. What virtue was he practicing, folks? What virtue did he practice? Sorry. Inventive thinking, creativity, thinking outside the box. What virtue did he need to practice? Trustworthiness, honesty, obedience to the rules. Yeah, so this is as I remember my conversation with Keelan, I can see the creativity you've practiced in moving the goals, but you also need to practice obedience. Perhaps that creativity that you used would be better used in your story work or your painting, or you also need to practice obedience. How am I doing for time? Do I have any time left? 2 to 3 minutes, okay. So this is from my, this is the plan of citizenship and community spirit in my school. It comes from my latest book, Character Education, the Star Awards. But my inspiration has come from Linda Cavellin-Popov and from Dara Feldman, who encouraged me, because I don't know if you can see it, this background, this very parched background. I think Secretary Tiwari was saying about how people are inside this emptiness that we all see, that's fueling so much poor citizenship, so much mental ill health and societal problems. And Linda Cavellin-Popov said that at some point, every child, youth, and adult feels parched for meaningful recognition. My wife says that, you know, we feel sorry for people that are malnourished, but in the West, this malnourishment is inside. This is what they look like inside, parched. And it's when we recognize inside a child, when we a virtue in a child, that they light up. By identifying a virtue in a child and naming it, you will see their eyes light up in recognition of their own value. And for me, that recognition of their own value is the start of responsible citizenship. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff, for that most insightful talk that you just shared with all of us, and the beautiful comparisons that you made about an unpolished gem and a child, how we should see, try and see what is within the child beyond the muddied exterior of the child. Thank you so much for that. And of course, the 4 characters, which I'm sure each one of us sitting here were able to relate to, because we do encounter similar situations, similar kind of children in our campus, in our schools, in our classrooms when we move in. But how beautifully you put it, that how we can recognize that one value that one virtue that each one of them has. And of course, you closed your talk with that beautiful quote that at some point, and it's so true, all of us, whether we are adults, whether we are children, whether we are youth, we are all parched for meaningful recognition. We all want that pat on the back, and that makes such a big difference to each one of us. Thank you so much, Jeff, for your thoughts. Thank you, ma'am.
Would you like to invite some questions?
Very good morning and Jai Jagat to one and all present here. I am an animator of class 9, CMS Kanpur Road. I have a question for Dara ma'am.
Oh, not right now.
We'll talk after.
The question is, rather than checking our bags and putting metal detectors in our schools, shouldn't they tell us why it is wrong and why shouldn't we do it? When a junior youth gets that, they will change sustainably. Wouldn't that prove more useful rather than forcing something on the junior youth?
Absolutely. So I want to acknowledge you for your wisdom in knowing that, and also your courage asking that question, standing up so courteously, asking that of me and in front of everybody. And Jeff, I think you would agree with that, yes?
So the question is, what is the alternative to scanning people for metal and things like that? Yeah, we can't make the world safe in that way. You know, we have to bring out people's innate desire to do the right thing. It's everybody's responsibility to ensure that everybody is safe and everybody develops their character. When it devolves to somebody standing on a door, scanning people, we know that it's not going to work.
Thank you so much. And after that very insightful, inspiring, motivating address that we heard from Mr. Jeff Smith, we now move on to our next speaker. And our next speaker is Dr. Hamid Mohajir, and he's going to talk about excellence going beyond the culture of contest and competitions. I would like to say a little bit about Dr. Mohajir. He is an absolute versatile personality. He has a long list of accomplishments to his credit, but I'm just going to mention a few of them here. He has conducted a series of workshops on discipline for principals and teachers of various schools of Lucknow, trained hundreds of students to conduct weekly junior youth empowerment programs with thousands of junior youth. He's designed a series of 10 books on moral education, lessons for children in the age group of 6 to 10. Then he's also conducted series of seminars with principals and teachers in rural schools, helping them develop their capacity to generate meaningful curriculum and conduct similar seminars for other schools. He also directs and produces live radio program called Confusion Junction, and I highly recommend that you hear it whenever you get the opportunity, because he does it in association with our school students, and they are extremely thrilled about this program, so are we. He is also the general manager of the Royal Publishers Lucknow. He is the consultant with the Foundation of Advancement of Science, helping them develop teaching material for pre-primary education, a designer and builder of prefabricated buildings suitable to the climate of rural India. So there comes in his being technically so strong. And of course, he is the advisor for the Junior Youth Empowerment Program of City Montessori School, Lucknow. He is one person who walks his talks. He loves to work with children, and the children adore him for all that he does. And I can really vouch for this because he's been guiding my school students and empowering them. And he has a very unique knack of dealing with students who are most difficult. So I would now like to request where we find it difficult, but he's able to deal with them. So may I now request Dr. Hamid Mohajir to please address the gathering.
Thank you. It's good to be the speaker before lunchtime. Nobody expects much. The criteria is finish it as fast as you can and let's get on. Thank you very much. In fact, I would have gladly given my time to the other two speakers. I think you were amazing with your talks. My topic is, I was thinking of this one. You press the middle button? Yeah. I was thinking competition, like being in India, our whole education system is run on competition. Irrespective of the fact whether we agree with competition or disagree, but our marking system, everything works with competition. And when you ask the kids, is competition good? What's the general answer? What kind of competition is good? Healthy competition, which I'm not sure what it means, but everybody, students, teachers, everybody talks. Healthy competition is good. And they have proofs for it. So the kids mentioned the marks, that how the marks are increasing. They mentioned the number of hours they can study. I know students, not one or two, majority of them nowadays in class, board exams, they actually leave house at 7 in the morning and they come back home 8 in the evening and they sit for homeworks. So they give that, we can do that, and it's because of competition. It's true. Competition is one of the most strong motivating forces that makes you do crazy things even, if there's a competition. The question is, does it lead to excellence, which is the topic of today? Does competition lead to excellence? We know it's leading to high marks. Is it leading to excellence? And a lot of students, teachers, they think it leads. They say it gives us good opportunity for jobs. It gives us, it makes us work harder. We are much more equipped. So I started searching the net to see, is it true? And I found some very interesting things that how competition does not lead to excellence. It does not even lead to good jobs. And it definitely is not very good for the kids. So I found a few things. Which button goes up? Is it this one? The H button. Okay. So this is India's Labor Bureau. Uneducated individuals have higher chance of being employed when compared with their degree-holding counterparts. So basically, coming to a school doesn't give a this thing. My reaction was something like this. That's the fact. The other things, I found other things was this. 1.5 lakh engineers from best colleges, and 7% of it had engineering skills. And this is the topmost colleges of India. And we had this 53% kids in universities are not suffering from depression. And the other statistics was even interesting. I like that one. Made suicide attempt, 8.8%. So in a school like this with some 7,000 students, as per the statistics, something like 600 of them are going to attempt suicide. And this is all government data. So it's not working. I mean, competition does not work. The question comes, why do we do it? Why is our whole educational system based on this competition of pushing children towards competition? And I think it comes from a few myths. One of them being the survival of the fittest, the Darwinian theory that we need to fight each other to reach the top, and that's the only way humans progress. And we end up getting statistics like this of people putting kids in depression, putting them under suffering, pushing them. But then that is really a myth. It doesn't, after working with JYP, programs like JYP, you really find that these are not the truth. That when things work together, they work much better. Another reason we have competition is because of our curriculum. If somebody just came and whispered into Dr. Geeta's ear that the dal and sabji is all burnt for the lunch, what would be the best way for her to make us all happy? Start a roti eating competition. Say the person who eats the maximum number of chapatis will win, and announce the reward. Nobody will be bothered about the dal because now there's a competition that we only have to eat chapatis. And I think that's what we are doing. I was just talking with one of these animators who was saying for his chemistry exam, he's using his dad's 1988 book. And he says it's exactly the same. And interestingly, in 1988, I was doing chemistry, and I had bought a second-hand book of 1966. And everything was the same that time. So this is our curriculum, that we are giving kids stuff that they know they're not going to use in their lives. I mean, there's an age, every day there are millions of inventions happening. And where do we get our curriculum from? I was talking to some of the rural schools. Who decides our curriculum? And after a lot of thinking and discussion, they said the bookseller. He tells us what books are needed. And being in the publishing industry, I just had one of my staff telling me, one of the old staff who has his own animation firm, he said he talked with this author for a very famous book company, and he said he'll give him all the books from class 1 to class 8 in all subjects in 3 months. These are the people who are writing our books. So of course we need competition to push the kids. So what do we, these are some of the common myths. Are these true? These are the Darwinian theories that we need competition to go. But I think now slowly, all around the world, these myths are being proved wrong. That no, humans did not survive because somebody like Popeye came and beat up the dinosaurs. They survived because of mutualism, because of cooperation, because we were able to plan with each other. And the other, that it's actually our spiritual side, that when we work together, when we cooperate, that we actually are able to achieve greater deals. And not because I am the stronger and I have bigger atomic bomb than yours that we are actually going to survive. Or with the kids that I can score more marks than you so I can survive. As the Labor Department said, in fact, I was talking with one of the vice principals of this school, and she was saying with her 30-year experience, she's noticed those with lower marks have always performed better in life. I don't know how true that was, but that was her very strong thing, that somehow the ones who score lower are easier to adapt and learn from other people because they know they don't have that higher mark. So they go out, they meet people, they talk, so they're much better, which is quite strange because of the focus. So what's the solution if we are to remove? So we need to think, what is the aim of education? Is the aim of education to select who are the top 5 people in this class and put them on the podium? Is the aim of education something that a lot of people strongly believe to get jobs? Is it to follow your passion? Is it vocational? What is the aim of education? I think it's all of these in a way, but the real aim of education is to give tools that I can use it today, that I use these tools today to change my life and the life of those around me. I think I have asked this question from numerous students, what you studied in the past 12 months, how have you used it in your lives? And they look at me as if I'm some sort of a chimpanzee from a zoo. They're not for our lives, they're for future. And I said, no, education is for today. You study something in your class today is for today to change your life. No, no, no. You have no idea what education is. Every child and a lot of teachers think education is something for some time else. In fact, I was talking with ma'am once that if after 6 months we call the children of 12th class, how will they score? And I asked the students, and they said probably at least 30–40% less than what they scored 6 months ago. So it's definitely not going to take us in future if in 6 months' time what we studied from 7 in the morning till 10 at